Hello, I'm James Cook and I'm the head teacher at Cawdor Primary School and ELC in Highland. Delighted to have been asked by Education Scotland today to share our growing approaches towards play pedagogy in Team Cawdor. In Cawdor, we value play pedagogy, and a tagline that you may see if you have us on social media feeds is around play is learning. Valuing play pedagogy in terms of supporting children's development, learning and well-being. You'll see in the bottom right hand screen, as part of our medium term school improvement overview over our 3-year cycle, we're looking to embed playful approaches to learning across the school from ELC to P7, where children are able to be curious, inquire and have fun in order to learn. In terms of our school context, you can see on the map there that we are fairly rural, wedged between the city of Inverness and the town of Nairn. We have 154 children currently in our school from ELC through to P7. And in terms of our demographic, we have 53% of our children who are placing requests from P1 to P7. As part of our ongoing school improvement, we've been looking at play and play pedagogy. Initially looking at that within the early years and early primary, and now looking at that, as I'd mentioned, through our strategic school improvement plan over 3 years. And also on the screen here, you can see that in terms of that 3-year journey, we're currently on year 2, looking at furthering our approaches that we've been developing outdoors and indoors, and supporting children's learning through play and inquiry to support their development, their learning and their well-being. We're focusing on the creativity skills of curiosity, open-mindedness, imagination and problem solving to drive this. Starting with our early learning and childcare setting, we've been engaging with the National Practice Guidance of Early Years, Realising the Ambition. And within that, we've specifically been focusing on the child-centred pedagogy and practice cycle when thinking around about our effective quality observations of children's learning, how we document their learning, thinking around about how those observations then support us through our responsive and intentional planning, and then through our sensitive interactions, how we then facilitate children's learning. You'll see on the screen, and we've also provided this as an attachment, how we have used this in order to support our self-evaluation as a setting. And what I must say is this has been a journey for us as an ELC setting, and it's a journey that we are all aware that is not complete and never will be. It's something that's ever evolving, and we continue to adapt this based on our own professional learning, our practice, and our observation of children's learning. Within ELC, we look at the approach towards play, both indoors and outdoors, valuing the spaces in terms of our children's environment and working with our children to create spaces that are fruitful and going to support growth in their learning. This quote from Donaldson is really powerful in terms of saying that children learn as they play. Most importantly, in play, children learn how to learn. And that's something as an ELC team we're all committed to, and through our engagement with families are supporting them to understand and value children's learning through play. In terms of our documentation of our learning, you can see that we capture this in various ways. We have this visible for the children so that they are able to be part of their learning, and documentation takes different forms. What's been important in terms of using Realising the Ambition is ensuring that we have a rationale for what we do, and we've got a shared commitment in terms of our why and our what. Within our early learning and childcare setting, we look at our balance of learning. We think around about that balance between child-initiated, adult-initiated and adult-guided, and adult-led and adult-directed. When we're looking at and reflecting upon our observations, we think around about, in terms of our responsive and intentional planning, what will be most effective in terms of supporting our children's growth. Within our early learning and childcare setting, the balance is tipped towards child-initiated learning, but we also value the role of the adult in terms of initiating and guiding children's learning through interactions and provocations, and also planning for the opportunities for adult-led and adult-directed learning to support children's area of development and their next steps. Within our Primary 1-2 setting, we have been looking at ensuring that there is successful transition from early learning and childcare through to early primary. As a team, we've been working collectively together across the early level and into first level to ensure that we plan for what Realising the Ambition talk about these horizontal and the vertical transitions. You'll see from some of the snapshots on the screen that when we've been thinking about our environment in terms of our spaces, our experiences, and our interactions, we want to try and echo environments that children are familiar with within the early learning and childcare setting, but also provide spaces that will support some more further direct teaching through adult-led and adult-directed experiences. In terms of realising the ambition, we've looked at this guidance here in terms of the key elements of high quality provision. And this has supported us in terms of our own practice as practitioners within the school and looking at our own professional learning in terms of being able to support our own growth and our understanding of how play is a driver for learning. When we've been looking at our approaches towards Primary 1 and Primary 2, we've been looking at a range of theorists in terms of play pedagogy and also writers of practice. You'll see there on the screen we've got the books of the likes of Greg Buttrill and Anna Etgrave, whose practice has helped influence our approach. We've been using the likes of Greg Buttrill's 3 M's of making conversations, of mark making and writing and mathematics to support how we capture children's learning, how we document that, and how we plan for children's learning based on what we see and what we hear. We value children's well-being, and the Shinari well-being indicators have prominence within our Primary 1 and 2 environment, and that language of well-being is fleshed through our interactions throughout the day. You'll see on the screen here we have some information around about the spaces and the types of experiences that we want our children in early primary to have. This is something that we share with our families throughout our family learning and our family engagement, and particularly through that transition from early learning and childcare into Primary 1, where they can see how children's learning in ELC is valued and continued. And that's a commitment that we have as a school community. We've been looking at the research from the Lego Foundation. We found this continuum of play-based learning from Pyle and Daniel particularly effective when looking at our continuous provision within Primary 1 and Primary 2. When we've been looking at our balance of child-initiated, adult-initiated and adult-guided, and adult-led and adult-directed learning, we want to ensure that we have an opportunity for all of the different modes on the continuum of play-based learning. This has initially been looked at within our Primary 1-2 context and is now something that we're using across the school in order to plan for children's development, learning, and well-being through play. Something we've also talked around about as a school community is the dichotomy of play and learning that's often referenced. We believe that play and play pedagogy are a synthesis of this. They bring together the range of skills that you can see in that graphic in the heart in the middle of the screen there. As I've mentioned, working with families has been crucial as part of our journey in terms of play pedagogy in the early stages of primary. For our families, what learning looks like in Primary 1-2 might look different from when they were at school, and it may look different from how older siblings learned when they were in the early primary. So it's been really important that we've worked with our families to communicate what learning looks like and how we support children's learning through this blend of child-initiated, adult-initiated and adult-guided, and adult-led and adult-directed teaching throughout the day. As part of our school improvement plan, as I've mentioned, we've also looked at how we've started to develop a whole school approach towards play pedagogy. Our first driver for this was through block play, in the 21-22 academic session. You can see there that we've invested in a range of different resources, from the community playthings blocks in the early stages through to the CAPLA in the middle and upper primary. Within this, what we're trying to prioritise is the skills of curiosity, open-mindedness, imagination and problem solving, and utilising the resources in terms of the stages of block play that have been produced by Education Scotland. Another area of whole school development has been our loose parts play. Our principal teacher at Cawdor has a lead responsibility for outdoor learning and is invested in loose parts play across the school community. You can see in terms of our investment of loose parts play, we've been focusing on our rationale for loose parts. We realise that loose parts play are a way of being able to support these vital skills. We realise that it supports children's learning primarily outdoors and indoors as well. On the screen here, you'll see some guidance that we've put together as a team. This has been written for the audience of families to explain the rationale for play pedagogy. On the right-hand side, we've worked with our children to be able to create a charter for loose parts play, to ensure that loose parts play is safe, to ensure that loose parts play is a way in which all children are included, feel respected, and are responsible. Our 3 Ps of prepare, play, and pack away support this and are connected to our school values. You'll see in the pictures here on the screen that resourcing for this has been important. Thinking around about the natural loose parts that we have available in the outdoor environment for children to explore. And again, working with families, we've been able to receive a number of donations to support this. You can see on the screen some of the ways that children have collaborated together. And this is a great example of cross-class collaboration in which children have explored a range of different loose parts and demonstrated a multitude of skills. This year, something that we've looked at as part of our whole school approach is connected to the United Nations Convention of the Rights of the Child, and particularly focused around about Article 31 in terms of children's rights to play. Fun in 31 is something that schools that are engaged with the Rights Respecting Schools Award may be familiar with, and it's a part of the day on Friday afternoon in which our children have 31 minutes in terms of that right to play. This is something which is primarily child initiated, as you can see from some of the images on the screen, but also is supported through adult provocations and through adults playing together with children across the school. Another area that we focused on in terms of our whole school approach this year has been our masterclasses. These masterclasses are focusing around about a range of different skills that have play and playfulness at their heart. You can see there that these are primarily more adult directed and adult initiated, and our plan is over the coming months and into the next year to see how we can support our children to take more of a leadership role within these, and also work with our families and our partners to support this further as well. As we continue our journey in play pedagogy in Cawdor Primary School over this year and in subsequent years, we want to really embed this whole school approach to learning through play. We're wanting to value these creativity skills of curiosity, open-mindedness, imagination, and problem solving. Through our school's approach to interdisciplinary learning, which our approach is through what we call our Cawdor quests, our children are beginning to engage with the meta skills. We want to use these meta skills in moving forward with our approaches towards play pedagogy, so that children are able to reflect upon the skills that they are developing when learning through play. We want to continue to use the continuum of play-based learning in terms of creating that approach to learning to support children's development, learning, and well-being. And we want to continue our partnerships with families in order to prioritise play and play pedagogy within Team Cawdor. You can find out more about our approaches to play via our school website and also on social media. You can find us on Twitter at Cawdor PS. Thank you.